I'm so happy that you guys are here today because I just feel like your story with your beautiful full color map behind you is going to be really inspiring to a lot of people. And Matt, I'd actually found out kind of the results of your mapping adventure when I read a post that you had put up on Facebook and were sharing with your family and friends. And my sister saw it, and then she said, "Oh, look at this!" And I think I cried actually when I read it because it was so touching. And so I just wanted to give you guys a chance to share what you did and, you know, what this has been for you and your experience.
Well, it's funny that you say that about that post, because it was like, I remember when we were coloring in our last swirls, it was like I asked him, because he's very much a Facebook sharer and I'm not so much, and I was like, are you going to put this on Facebook? He's like, I've been thinking for 2 weeks what I'm going to write.
Oh.
And it was really sweet that he took so much time and energy to be so honest with everyone. You know, it's not a pretty place to be like, hey, we were like deep and now we're not deep. But so yeah. And it's
true. It's true. And it's something that I went through myself. I mean, that's how this all got started. I was 26,000 in debt at the time. Yeah. And this is something that affects so many people. I would say the majority of people, and something that we don't often talk about. And so literally bringing it into the light, having it be something visual, I think is really important. And I'm just so glad that you were willing to share. So I'll let you keep going.
So like where do you want to start?
Starting from kind of why you decided you wanted to map. What about hearing about Map Your Progress or my story kind of sparked something for you both to go after this, paying off your debt?
Well, I think we wanted to get out of debt, and that was important to us. And then Dani had found out through your sister, I believe, or whatever, that you have this program. And one big part of it for us was making sure that our daughters were a part of the process and they could see it. And that not only do I think having visualization is super important to keep, you know, hey, look, keep going. You know, look how many we circled in today. Look how many we colored in today. I think there's motivation in that. But even behind that for us, because we were pretty motivated already, was to share that with our family and to say, hey, you know, our girls asked all the time, oh, have you colored anymore? And look how far you're getting. And so it was a visualization for our family about our journey as we continued to make that a priority in our lives.
Beautiful. And how old are your daughters?
7, 7, and 8.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're a blended family. So we just got remarried a year and a half ago, and Matt has a daughter who is 8, but she's 4 months older than my twins who are 7. They're going to be 8 this month. And so I think just part of this whole deal was just us, coming to the marriage and saying, this is how we want to live. This is our choice for our family. And we're not only going to do that for us, but we're going to raise our girls in that too.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. So how did you decide to choose which map? I mean, what called to you?
Well, our debt was large. And I remember I originally asked you for like an anchor. Do you remember that? I emailed you. So I thought like the symbolism of an anchor would be really neat, because it would be like something we could anchor our family on, like this is how we choose to live. Sure. And but I'm also very impatient, and you didn't have an anchor.
Totally, I didn't. I just have a draft of an anchor. I actually drew one for you. No. And then I did, and then I like kind of rough in the swirls with pencil.
Yeah.
And then once I always freestyle that, but I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of 75 swirls instead of 100. So I needed to go redo it. And that's where it stuck. But I love the symbolism and I love the idea. Someday there will be an anchor.
Yeah.
So that is why we don't have one yet.
So the heart was obviously just, it's like at the heart of our family and what we choose. And, there's love in the freedom, and there's also love in the process. And so, and I mean, hearts are they're just beautiful. And so, and it had a lot of swirls.
Yeah.
So there could be more success, I felt like, sooner, because it was like if you could break down your debt by 275 swirls versus 100 swirls, then you could color in more sooner.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I remember the first month. So we started it in July. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first month we did like 121 swirls, or is that right? No, like 21 swirls, which was like $2,000, or I mean, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was like the very bottom row. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of swirls on here.
Yeah.
And or maybe it was like 30. We colored in 30, and then the next month we colored in another 30. And just at first it seems almost impossible, because it's like, that's not that much, and we've just paid off like $4,000, yet we're just coloring in. But it actually took time to color in those swirls, and so and once we started getting more progress with it, the last month we colored in 120 swirls.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Over Christmas.
Even more impressive.
In December. Yeah.
Good for you. Wow.
Yeah, that was, so we started in July and we were done. Well, no, that's not true. January. We finished in January. So that was pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It is impressive. Yeah. I mean, did that go faster than you thought it would, or kind of about what you were expecting, or?
We gave ourselves a year. We said we started in July. We said by July next year, we want to be done. And I think we bought the map in July. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I remember adding it to our budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. So there's like a little line item?
Mm-hmm. Like nice. Everything got accounted for, which is not fun, but needs to be done.
Yeah. What do you use, if you don't mind me asking? I'm just curious. For your budget. Do you use a program, or do you just kind of write it out?
Yeah, no. So we went to the longer story is that we went to a Dave Ramsey class. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah. Sure.
So we went to his class, and so we knew all the principles, and we used his budgeting software, but we still were kind of living in this kind of dream world of we can still have stuff we don't need. And I don't know, what would you say happened?
Well, even in Financial Peace University, they talk how it takes 6-8 months before you kind of get going on a budget. And so that was another tool that we used, was just working through that. It's just hard when you have blended families and, trying to learn what it looks like to live off of a budget.
Yeah. And were you all in regular communication about that on a daily basis, or do you like sit down with each other once a month or anything like that?
Well, we tried once a week, but we didn't always get there.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it had to be something that was communicated a lot. And maybe some of us wanted more communication than others.
Right.
It was definitely something we had to do it together. I mean, it had to be done together.
Yeah. I mean, did you learn anything about yourselves in this process, or anything that surprised you?
We're going to get really deep.
I love the deep.
Learn anything? Well, I mean, the whole process is learning the value of money and spending. Going back to what your grandma always used to say, if you can't pay for it in cash, then don't buy it. So just learning how we also use money to help deal with like stress or difficult times. So I think you definitely learn a lot about yourself in that arena. Are we going to be known for people that accumulate and hoard, or are we going to be known for people that give? And so all those kinds of things you have to take, they just had to become a priority in our life. And that's something that was hard, at least in my life previously, was to make that a priority.
Yeah. I think, well, again, I think it resonates with so many people. These are things that we struggle with. And if you had any advice, or somebody that was also in a bunch of debt and looking to get out, any advice that you could offer them as they use the maps to work their way through that?
I would say get on a plan, get on a budget. I mean, Dave Ramsey, Financial Peace University, was beneficial for us, and it was another tool, just like Map Your Progress was for us. Sure. So I would say get into a system of some sort. Get on a budget. You have to be on a budget. You've got to account for every dollar. They talk a lot that you tell your money where it's going to go rather than your money telling you where it's going to go. Sure. And so we earmark, we dictate, we controlled it. I believe the cash system is probably the best way to do your budget. And then I highly believe in the snowball method of the credit card debt, letting it roll. So I would say get on a plan and stick with it. Give yourself grace and mercy. It took us several months before, when we said this is what we're going to do, it still took us several months to be able to do it. So give yourself a little bit of room to go through the process.
Yeah, super, super important. I think that was kind of what we were speaking about a little bit earlier, this concept of winning ugly. That when we set out on these adventures to go after something and go after goals, that oftentimes I think we have these expectations of how it's going to go. And then when it doesn't go that way, so often we give up, or we forget, or, that clever part of our brain is like, see, you can't do it. Like, you're just not a person who can do this. Yeah. And so I think allowing for that sort of time where it feels like kind of messy and sloppy, and it may not all come together in the way that you want, but just sticking with it and taking it, what I call one next right step at a time, one swirl at a time, then I think allows you to kind of, in that struggle, gain the skills and the musculature that you need to be able to really get where you want to go.
I would say too that the cash thing is huge, because you start feeling your money. Like, if you really want, a pair of shoes or something, and they're $100, and we have, a cash budget that he and I just have for whatever we want, I wouldn't buy them, because it's like, well, that's half my money for the month. How am I going to get my super fancy coffee that I would really love to get, and it makes you really start feeling things. And then it makes you realize how much you have that is maybe not as important as you always thought it was. And part of this process for me was not only just the getting out of the debt, but I don't know if you've heard of Marie Kondo, her book of tidying up.
Yeah, I forget the whole
life-changing magic of tidying up.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So part of it for me was not only like kind of letting go of my holding on to money or holding on to things, but like letting go of just possessions, and clearing out the space and giving yourself and your life the space that it needs to grow and change. And I felt kind of stuck for a really long time. And I think this, and I'm going to preface this with, this is still a process for us. Like, we're still working on money. And now that we're out of debt and we're committed to being out of debt and we don't have any credit cards, we have to live in a way where, we're not going to go to Hawaii to see my cousin's wedding. And as much as we would love to, and most people would probably just put that on a credit card, like, it's not going to happen for us. So yeah, just letting some of that go. And there are fights and there are things your body like wants to hold on, and learning to just be kind and give yourself grace is, I think, the biggest part.
Not just yourself grace, but your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. It's super hard.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And I think so critical, though, to actually having sustainable momentum, sustainable progress. And that's something that I talk about a lot with Map Your Progress, but I feel like it's the key, it's the foundation to being able to do any of those things that we want to do. I mean, making those kinds of changes are significant, and it takes a lot. And so, to try to like grind through it, or, kind of do it in these short sprints before we're really ready, is not sustainable. And I think most all of us have had that experience of like knowing how that story goes. Yes. So just being super kind to yourself, showing yourself grace, showing your partner grace in this, especially in the parts that are sticky and tough. That's what I think makes the big difference and allows for you to come out on the other side. But you're right. It's a process. It's not like, okay, one and done. You guys have been making some pretty fundamental changes, both personally, it sounds like, and within your partnership. Yeah.
And I think for, I think I texted you or sent you a message about how one of our daughters, when we finally were coloring the last one, was like, ran in like, you can't use credit cards anymore, like, ha, ha, ha. And you can't borrow anybody else's money, and like kind of like teasing us. And we're like, yeah, you're right. We can't. It's wonderful. And it's but like that they're part of this and that they're going to know that now. And I'm sure they'll make their mistakes, and I hope they do. Right. But that they are seeing how that we have made mistakes and that we've committed to being part of something bigger, and getting out of those things, I think is really significant for our family.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, we talk about grace. Like for me, that's our humanity and making those choices that ultimately don't serve us in the way that we'd hoped, and being able to find our way through. I think that takes courage, and I think that there's so much that we learn in that, and that's how we gain our wisdom through that process. So I think it's amazing. I think it's really cool that you've modeled that for your girls. And your willingness to share this with the tribe is going to help a lot of other people. Some who are feeling ashamed about their debt, or feeling like they can't really do it, or you know what I mean. Like this, I feel like shows that yes, this really is possible. That beautiful heart right behind you is full color, And how does that feel? Like in coloring in that last whirl, what was that like for you?
I feel like there was this weird euphoria and this weird kind of like, almost like I regressed a little bit. It's really weird, but I feel like it was like, we're done. And then I went into this place of like, I don't have to live that way anymore. Totally. Look at all we've done. And I would say my regression was in wanting again to be like, I can spend money again, and I can get my hair done and do nails and things that are not as important, but I still have that struggle. And so there's this great feeling, but also you have to remember that it's like a lifetime thing. It's not like, it's not like it's just magically going to be, you're healed or you're saved or you're fixed, or, there's still going to be some grace. And I think that was actually good for me to realize that there's still a lot of growing that I need to do, that it's not just because we're out of debt doesn't mean I don't have ties with wanting things or feeling certain ways about money. And I think a lot of people feel that way, like we deserve it, or I work so hard, or there's all these things that we could tell ourselves and get stuck, And so I feel like it was really great and fantastic, and we took a wonderful trip. And now I'm kind of back in this place of feeling like, okay, what changes do I need to make sure I'm continuing to do, and not just feeling like, I can just spend whatever I want,
Yeah. And this, the heart, we're actually sitting on our dining room table. So this is like center of our household. Like our kitchen's there, our living room's right behind us. And so we walk by this, we sit here every night for dinner. It's present. It's who we are. It's like, it's a stone just to mark what was done in our life, to remember and to tell our kids and to tell people to walk by in our house. So what's that about? Like, it's something that we want to just keep up and make sure that it's ever present as a reminder, not only for us, but for those that come into our home and for our children to always know that this is a decision that we've made to live in a certain way. And here's a remembrance to help us not forget that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm so happy that you brought that up, and thank you so much for being so honest about that, because I think that's where it can be really helpful when we hear stories of, that it's not easy, and it's not like yay and then again one and done. But I think for me and the things that I've been working through in my own life, that it's a day by day thing. And that was, again, part of the impetus of Map Your Progress is it's just one day at a time. And to be able to find the joy and the love and the care for yourself in the day, just staying in the day. And when you do feel upset because you want to go, to that wedding in Hawaii, or you want to get your hair done, you are working hard. You do feel like you deserve it, and like, how are you with yourself in those moments? Like, what can you say to yourself to acknowledge that, yeah, this is hard. And, and I'm really proud of myself for continuing to just one day at a time. That's all any of us can do. And I think that is how we start to really create new habits and, again, build that musculature that it isn't always going to be this hard, Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely gotten easier, but there's going to be those moments where you still feel your old self wanting to hold on to stuff, but yeah, you're right. You're building up that muscle, that the strength to say, no, it is hard, but that's okay. There's so many other more beautiful things that we're creating or doing, so.
Yeah.
I would just say that the one other thing that this has done for me and now for Matt is that it's created space, because we spent so much time talking about money, dealing with our debt, that even though we're still building up those muscles and working on that stuff, the big, huge weight of it is gone. And now we're like for me, like, I love being a mom, and we're starting the process of like possibly becoming foster parents. And there's such a huge need for kids to have a safe place to go. And for us, if we're in debt, that's just not a possibility, right? We can't be worrying about money and then like taking on a kid who's going to need our attention. And so, and that has just opened up to me now that the debt is gone. Now that's a possibility in our life. And, I don't know where that's going to lead for us, but I'm just super excited about doing something bigger than us.
I got a little shiny in the eyes now. It's beautiful. I mean, it's incredible. And I think that's at our best when we really care for ourselves, then we're in a position to give and be generous with others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this story. And thank you so much for the tenacity and just getting through the technical glitches. But I really appreciate you being so honest and willing to share this, because like I said, I think a lot of people are in similar positions. And I think you've really modeled that this is a possibility for them, and really good advice on how to get there.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. Keep me posted on how things go.
Okay.
See ya. Bye. See ya. Okay, guys. Yes. Sorry. Sorry for those of you that are wanting to chat. So far, I just kind of take these conversations one at a time. But I feel like Dani and Matt's story was so powerful and just lovely in terms of how they've used the maps really in service of their goals and their family and what they stand for. And it feels like a good place to kind of wrap things up from here. So next week, very excited to welcome back the Progress Scholars, the 3 women who have been working with me one-on-one in this 12-week adventure, where we meet twice a week to help really them make progress in their life exactly as it is right now, and to figure out how they can move forward and do the things that they want to do, but also enjoy the process and not have it be like a tough thing, because naturally it is tough in certain areas. And certainly, like Matt and Dani were talking about, when we're trying to make those types of changes, it's not easy, and that stuff comes up. And I feel like the game changer is when we can learn how to treat ourselves kindly and learn to support ourselves mentally, emotionally, and so forth, so that we can move through it. Because once you can get through the other side, then you have real progress. Then you start to create this kind of strength that can carry you in a way that you haven't been able to do before. So we will be talking more about that. And in the meantime, you're very welcome to head over to mapyourprogress.com. That's where you can take my free course, little mini course called Progress Mapping 101. And it's a series of videos and a free download 10-scroll heart map where I show you exactly how to get started, and that you can start experimenting with this in your own life in whatever goal is important to you. So get on it, and I will see you all next week. Okay, bye guys.